Hey guys, welcome to Renderspaz video. This is our first video of the Vray Basics series, and I just want to show you just to get you guys quick and get you up and running with Vray. I'm assuming you already have the plugin installed, you know what Vray is, and you just want to you're new to it and you just really want to figure out how some of this stuff works. So right now I selected it through the assigning render, and I have the active shade and everything on, and I use active shade now just to show you that when I add things to the scene or whatever it is, it's going to affect, and you'll actually see what's going on in the render. Okay, so when I move around, everything just updates. Okay, so let's get started. So right now, as we are looking at this just very simple blocked out, just 3D primitives, just some 3D objects, like the teapot, and there's a couple cylinders and a sphere and whatnot. I just put these in just so that you can see how they're going to react with each other when I start adding things into the scene. Okay, so right now we have a default lighting setup. We have Max's default light setup. So when I am going into Vray's production render mode, you can see in the global switches I have lights and then default lights off with GI. Well, right now we don't have GI in the scene, and if I was to put GI in the scene, we would get a black scene, basically, a black environment, and that's because it eliminated the default light. Okay, so so you can see if I take GI off and put it back on, we get our default, and now we don't have any default lights at all. Alright, so that's crucial, especially if you're adding GI. Alright, so I will get into more of the render setup later on. But for now, I'm just going to demonstrate so that you can actually start to see something in your scene. And that's obviously because we have no lights. And lights are the key factor of Vray, and you need the lights in order for you to have Vray work. So what we need you to do is go over to your tab to the right under your lights, and you'll see a Vray under the light tab. Okay, and you can see now we have options like Vray Light, we got Vray Ambient Light, we got Vray IES lights, and Vray Sun. I'm not going to really go through all these features, but I will show you most of them, besides maybe the Ambient Light and the IES I won't be going through, but I'm going to show you the common Vray Light. So in the scene right now, I'm going to drop a light in, and you can just draw it on the screen, and you can see as I'm drawing it in the perspective mode, I am getting a box, and you can control that in your properties here under the size, and you get your half length and your half width. Okay, so this controls how big you want your lights, and I have it here at the bottom. So when I move this upwards, we start to see the light. And we see in the scene that, well, this is what we're getting in our Vray window. Excuse me. So one light gives us this effect, right? So what we can do with this is we have properties for this light. Okay? Right now, we have the multiplier at 30, and if I was to, well, let's actually start from the top. So right now, as you can see, the light source is a plane type, but we can also say we want a dome. If we say we want dome, this creates a environment around. It creates an environment around the objects, kind of like a. Actually, you can see the effect if you. See, if you kind of go this way, you can see there's a half sphere that actually, because it's tilted, Alright, you can see it right here. If I was to put full dome on, it would actually cover the entire scene. Okay, and I'll get into dome lighting after. I'm just showing you the differences. Okay, so right now let's just lop out of there, and let's go back up, and now we have a sphere, which will give you, instead of having a rectangle, you can have a sphere. This is really good for getting some natural lighting, or natural shadowing, and natural lighting as well, but more or less getting natural shadowing. It's not as direct. So if I was to put the light up, okay, you can see that our shadowing is different. If I go back to our plane, these get more sharper. Okay, they get different. Sphere, there is differences. I don't know if you can see that, but yeah. So, and then there's mesh, and that's another thing I'll get into after. So most of the time I like to use plane, and I do like to use most of these three, and then the mesh would be for if you want a certain object to light up, to be the light source. Okay. Alright, let's get. Alright, so we have that, and we can control our intensity by lumens and power, luminance and radiant power and radiance. Okay, but for now we're just going to go with default. And if I was to change this multiplier, say to a 5, our light changes. Okay, it changes the intensity. So if we want a faint light or something, we need to really bright lights. You know, we can increase it. We get a very bright kind of light there. If we want, you know, just very dim, we can do that. Okay, that's just the multiplier. Here we have other options. There's our size, like I was saying, if we want to make a skinny little light. Okay, and if we want to just drop that in, here we get some very interesting effects. If we want to add more lighting. Okay, so if you want to make little strands of light, you know, you get the idea. You play with the size, you can do a lot of different things. So our options is casting shadows. We don't have to have the light to cast shadows. We can have it double-sided so that if the light, if you want, the light right now is facing only one side, so it's only coming out where this arrow is showing. And if we want it to come out both ends, clicking on the double-sided will illuminate the other side. Okay? It's pretty cool. Sometimes it's needed. Okay, invisible. If we want the light to not be there, but to show in the objects, we can do that. Okay, by just selecting that. You can see that it's gone, but it's still in the scene. It's just not shown in the render. So you can hide these lights. Okay. Let's just do one thing here. Take off my warnings. I don't need those. Alright. So we have also no decay. So that means that the light will just go on and on into the scene. It does not fall off as it gets, it doesn't get darker here. It just goes to infinity. Alright? There's no decay, it just goes on. Skylight Portal, that's something else we'll get into later. But to go over with you brief, it's something that you would want to have if you had an outdoor environment. Well, if you had an indoor, you're lighting an indoor scene, and you had some windows in your scene, and you wanted the outside light to come in. That's kind of what that's for. So it's just another thing to get into, but for now I'm just going to skip it. We have I'm also going to skip the store with the iridescence map. We don't need that at this point. And now I can actually get into what this light and how this light affects the scene. So the affecting is effect diffuse. If I click this off right now, it's not going to touch any of the objects, and the reason for that is because each object has a diffused material on it. Okay. Let's just show you here. Okay, I'll be getting into materials in the next video, but for now I'll just kind of show you a quick example of what this light is going to do. So right now we have a diffuse map, and I just applied it to this material to the teapot. So right now, if I was to make this, say, a yellow teapot, okay, right now I just told that light not to affect the diffuse, which means it's not going to show the color. But if I tick this back on, everything comes together again, because this all is diffused matte. Just like I made the teapot yellow, same with like the like the ring or the cylinder. These all have diffused maps added to them as a material. So when you're telling it to not be affected, it's going to ignore the diffuse of the objects, or whatever that diffuse is applied to, whatever object that is. Okay, and then there's also specular. And specular, now what I have to do, okay, is I'm going to add material to this teapot. So right now, if I was to say, give me some reflection to the teapot, okay, okay, give me some reflection. Right. So say I was to, on specular, is if you had something along the lines like this here. What you're seeing are this white spot that I have on the material. That's a specular, right? So if you tell the light, let's get the light object here again, and you take that off, it's going to lose some of its specular highlights. So it's the same thing as the diffuse, but with the specular part of it. And then our reflection, because now if I show you here, so you can see in the reflection of the teapot, I just added the reflection, it's bouncing the light. You can see where the light is through the reflection here. And if I'm telling it to not affect, to taking off the effect reflections and not affecting the object now, you can see we remove it. So turning on and turning off the reflection. So maybe there's a light in a scene, and I've used it a lot with the cars, where is if you have a light added into the scene, but you want it to light certain areas of the car, general areas, maybe you want to light the grill, but you don't want it to be shown in the reflection of the grill, then you would use this option, and this would take it off, but it wouldn't still leave you, it still will give you the light bounce, okay? So you still have that, but you're not going to have the reflection anymore, okay? And that's really what these do. These affect diffuse, specular, and reflections. These determine what you want that light to be affected by. So that's how that works. Okay, we also got some sampling if you want to increase your overall image. Get into that later. We got texture. Alright, I can get into this using texture, and I can show you kind of how this works. Very interesting and neat. Alright, let's bounce out here. Let's show you some properties here. Alright, so I got this big, massive light. Alright, let's go to 5. It's a little hot. Alright, So we have this massive light, and but I want to put an image over this light and to get the effect to happen to the objects with the light. Like, so what I'm trying to get at here is, I'm just going to show you, okay, instead of using my cool tactics of speaking to you about this. But what I want to do is I'm going to bring on the checker, okay, and I want this map to be applied to the light. Sure, I'll have an instance. You can see now that it's only going to light. Now, it puts the checker on there, it's only going to light these two corners, right? So as I can add more checkers, okay, and guess what's happening here? This is really cool, okay? What's happening is the effects are changing how our objects are looking and how the light's bouncing onto the objects. So you know, if this, you can kind of imagine what you could do with this here. And the cool thing about it is we're only using black and white right now. If I wanted to change the color, say to like a, blue, okay, I'm gonna get cool blue looking light. And if I wanted to change the black squares to a red, or like a red, we're gonna get a whole different scene here, okay? And you can see what's going on here. This is cool here. Let's cover this on the floor. So I'm gonna start putting on just a standard material on these guys for now. So I'm gonna get into the materials in the next video. Okay. But you can see we got a cool looking effect. Now this really hurts your eyes, so let's not pick that, but like, you get the idea. And what you can do with this it's pretty cool. Alright? So there's a lot of things you can do. You can add various things. It doesn't have to even be checkers. It could be, you can add a fall off map to this. So if I discard this one and put this in, we're going to get a fall off. And I don't know if you see that. You might not, because this is so, you might need a darker fall off gradient, but maybe if instead of a fall off, let's go with like a gradient. Okay, there you go. And this is really good for making soft lights, right? So someone that's, if you want to light a car or something, you don't want a hard line. And I can show you some of the difference here. So actually you'll see right here. The one side, if I just move this object over the way, or out of the way there, let's move it out. You can see with this light here, it has the hard line, and you're going to see how it reacts to your material with a reflection on it. Okay, and you can see with the blend on the right side, you can see how it falls off nicely to the white. Right, you can see that in here. So this is going to be more advanced later on. I'm going to have a lot more explanations about how lights work in another video. For now, this is just very standard, but you get the idea of what you can do with the texture maps and applying them to your V-Ray lights. So it's crucial, and this could really make your images look very cool. Now, I do not like how the segments are. And so if I put 56, we'll increase that. I'm going to get a nicer. That's a good way to. Alright, so you can see the fall off. It's really nice. It goes right to that, right to the white, and then there's a hard line there. So very good, cool way to control your lights and how they react with your objects. Okay. All right, guys. Well, let's see. Is there anything else I'm missing out of this video for now? All right. So we got. All right. Well, how about V-Ray Sun? Let's get into that. Okay, I'm going to show you the two lights that I like to use a lot. All right. So V-Ray Sun. This one here This is great for outdoor environments. When you apply it, okay, it's going to ask you for if you want a V-Ray sky environment map. You're going to say yes. Well, if you want, I'd like to start off with it anyways. And I'm going to bring our sun up. So you can see the effects happening here in the viewport, and then obviously in our active shade it's very bright. So what we're going to do is we are going to go to the sky and tone it down. Actually, sorry, we're going to bring the intensity down. It's like 0.5, and I'm just going to play this until I get a cool looking sky. Okay, that's pretty much it. It's a little bright. Let's bring it down just a bit more. There we go. It's a little easier on the eyes. So you can see that's what the V-Ray sun does. It gives you a very realistic sun model that you can work with. Love using it with outdoor environments. Okay, so this let's tone down our teapot a bit. There we go. So you get the idea. This is that didn't take too long to get a nice sky lighting setup. Okay, the properties here. Let's go through some of them. All right, so we have obviously the enabled and disabled. So if you don't want it, it will go out, but you'll still see that there's a lighting, a diffuse lighting that's around our objects, and that's because of our sky. Our sky is actually putting out light as well. But then when we want to get our more direct light, we're turning on our sun, which is giving us the shadows and all that cool stuff, right? We're getting our intensity. In visible, if we want invisible sun, so for example, let's see where I see it here. Okay, you can see that there's the sun there. If I was to take this off, well, we don't lose it there, but where we do lose it is in our, sometimes what will happen is you'll get the sun that makes a harsh hit on your objects. And sometimes you're not going to want it there, okay? So you would actually use that for getting rid of it, but it would still keep the sun. It just wouldn't put a harsh highlight onto your objects. I find that very useful sometimes. So it's also, this goes the same way with the other with the rectangle light that we just that I just showed you, and that's also the affecting specular. Does the same kind of, you can see actually when I turn it off here, it's actually showing in the viewport that it's leaving every time. So you're not really seeing it too much in the render, but you'll notice it when you have some very heavy specular objects. Maybe you just don't want that sun to put that out on the objects to really bring those out. So if you want it to be hidden, that's a good option, is taking that off. We have also cast atmospheric shadows. That's another thing that I can get into after. We got turbidity, which is, let's see here. I'll show you the effects of that. Can change the way your whole sky model looks. Okay. Can give you a brighter bluish color, make it more foggish. Okay, and then we have ozone. Our ozone is similar to what I just showed you last, which is basically the ozone changes the way the sun intensity is. Okay, you can see, like, as I'm moving it. Okay, I'm just going to do some drastic changes. How yellow it is on the ground, and then when I move this up, gets more to like a bluish. Okay, that changes some things. You got size multiplier. This is if you want your shadows not to be so sharp. So if you want to blend your shadows out or scatter them a little more, you would move this up. Okay, so let's just show you something drastic, and you can see right here you're getting your shadows are starting to spread, and that's really cool because that starts to look really natural as you start to use the size multiplier. Okay, you can get some pretty cool results there. But keep in mind, the more you spread that out, and the longer the render times get. The next we have is filter color. We can change the filter of the sun. Okay, we can just do that manually. Whatever we want. We want some more yellows. We want some more greens. Whatever it is, right? You can do that. There. Okay, I'm just going to go back to our white. Shadow subdivisions. If you want to increase your shadow, like if you have if you scatter your shadows out, you can increase the resolution and make it a little bit more smoother and look very nice. But keep in mind, again, render times will increase as you, so just be careful of that number. You know, keep it kind of low, not too high. And then shadow bias we don't have to talk about, and we got some photon stuff that we can get into later, and our sky model we can get into that later as well. But for now, guys, this is a simple lighting and just giving you a brief startup with Vray, and also using Vray RT. It's a very cool plugin, and Vray's really awesome, guys. If you're just getting into it, continue with it. It's an awesome plugin. It'll make your renders look really good once you master it. So yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video tutorial. This was part 1 of our Vray basics, and it's all free. And if you have anything, any questions, any comments, feel free to contact Renderspaz at info@renderspaz.com, or check me out on Facebook. And also, yeah, if you guys got anything, just let me know. Have a good one, guys.